Hey guys, it's Owen from Wrestling Inc. back with another wrestling news roundup. Without any further ado, let's get into today's biggest stories in the world of professional wrestling.
Vince McMahon reportedly agreed to pay $12 million in hush money to suppress allegations made against him. It has been revealed that former WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon had reportedly agreed to pay out more hush money in response to sexual misconduct allegations made against him. According to a new report from the Wall Street Journal, McMahon, quote, agreed to pay more than $12 million over the course of the past 16 years to suppress allegations of sexual misconduct and infidelity. These payouts reportedly went to 4 separate women who were previously associated with WWE. The women have reportedly, quote, signed agreements that prohibit them from discussing potential legal claims against or their former relationships. One of the previously unreported settlements includes a, quote, $7.5 million deal with a former wrestler who alleged that Mr. McMahon coerced her into giving him oral sex and then demoted her and ultimately declined to renew her contract in 2005 after she resisted further sexual encounters. The former WWE superstar and her attorney then reportedly approached Vince McMahon back in 2018 and then negotiated the payment in return for her silence on the matter. Another previously unreported settlement includes, quote, a WWE contractor presented the company with unsolicited nude photos of Mr. McMahon she reported receiving from him and alleged that he had sexually harassed her on the job. According to people familiar with the woman's 2008 non-disclosure agreement, Mr. McMahon agreed to pay her roughly $1 million, end quote. Finally, it's also reported that a previously unreported agreement, quote, was in 2006, which included a former manager who had worked 10 years for Mr. McMahon before he allegedly initiated a sexual relationship with her and was paid $1 million to keep quiet about it, end quote. The report from the Wall Street Journal then goes on to state, quote, Mr. McMahon's affairs at the company were common knowledge, according to former WWE employees. It has not yet been determined by the Wall Street Journal whether the current ongoing board probe by WWE's board of directors includes the non-disclosure agreements involving the contractor and the former wrestler, or how far back this investigation by WWE's board of directors will indeed go. A spokesperson for WWE's board of directors declined to comment on the matter to the Wall Street Journal. Furthermore, Mr. John Laurinaitis, the former Executive Vice President of Talent Relations, and Mr. McMahon himself declined to comment to requests for comment by the Wall Street Journal. Sasha Banks and Naomi reportedly removed from WWE's internal roster. Sasha Banks and Naomi's time in WWE may have come to an end, but there's still no official word. Mike Johnson of PW Insider is reporting that as of Thursday morning, Banks and Naomi are no longer listed on WWE's internal roster. Johnson also writes that PWI has, quote, heard rumblings of Banks that may be engaging in, quote, some signings outside WWE as early as this fall. It should be noted that as of this recording, the two talents still remain on the WWE.com roster page. Banks and Naomi were suspended indefinitely without pay after they walked out of the arena just prior or either just at the start of the May 16 edition of WWE Raw. It was initially reported by Raj Giri that Banks was released from the company back on June 15, a report that was later backed up by Twitter account WrestleVotes, but no further confirmation was made by WWE, and PWI refuted the reports on June 28. Following their suspension, Banks and Naomi were stripped of their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, removed from all promotional advertisements, had their merchandise removed from WWE Shopped, and outed on air as, quote, disappointing the WWE Universe with their actions. Banks has not shared anything via her social media since her departure, but photos of the star have emerged since then. The boss appears to have drastically changed her look since walking out of that episode of WWE Raw. Naomi, meanwhile, has made a little of her presence known on social media since May 16, though she was reportedly in renegotiations of an extension with WWE before walking out. WWE has continued their efforts to marginalize the duo, removing any indication of Banks' presence in the company by digitally removing a sign supporting Banks at a recent event. While WWE had initially claimed that a tournament would be held to crown new women's tag team champions, there has since been no word on when that tournament will indeed take place. Now a report from Fightful Select is reporting that Banks and Naomi disappeared from other internal rosters as far back as a few weeks ago, though nobody has been prompted to remove them from the official website's roster. Since then, Sasha Banks and Naomi have made some interesting edits to their social media accounts on Thursday, replacing previous WWE references with simply professional wrestler on their respective Instagram profile pages. The changes seemingly confirm that both women are indeed on their way out of WWE. Huge update on Pat McAfee's long-term future with WWE. Pat McAfee is hanging around a little bit longer. WWE has announced that the color commentator for WWE SmackDown has signed a multi-year extension with the company. McAfee has been on the call since April 2021 when the former Indianapolis Colts punter joined the SmackDown brand after a brief stint as a pay-per-view analyst and occasional wrestler and manager on the NXT brand. No stranger to participating in storylines, McAfee is currently embroiled in a bitter rivalry with Happy Corbin, who attacked McAfee as WWE Money in the Bank came to a close, leading McAfee to attending UFC 276 in a neck brace. The two men will face off against each other at WWE SummerSlam on July 30th. McAfee recently wrestled at WrestleMania 38, first winning a match against Theory and then taking a loss to WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon. The match was McMahon's first wrestling match since losing to Bret the Hitman Hart in a no-holds-barred match at WrestleMania 26 in 2010. McAfee has been a popular presence on WWE television with his emotional delivery, bringing a refreshing change of tone to WWE commentary. McAfee even brings his own stylistic flair to the show, shirking WWE's long-standing sartorial traditions by wearing shorts at the commentary table and even at a WrestleMania. Meanwhile, his schedule has been getting busier and busier as he also hosts a regularly broadcast YouTube and Sirius XM show called The Pat McAfee Show and takes part in numerous live events. McAfee's outside commitments recently ran in opposition to WWE's own plans as McAfee accepted an invitation by UFC President Dana White to host a UFC event in Paris, France on September 3rd, the same day that WWE will be presenting Clash at the Castle, their first pay-per-view in the United Kingdom since 2003.
So what are your thoughts on today's Wrestling News Roundup? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestling Inc. and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.